Hey, how's it going, guys? I want to make a little video about being a loser. It's just like, I don't know, just some kind of like things that I noticed, there's some experiences that I've had about, you know, uh, being a loser, like, and successful people, and, what I've noticed, because like, so yeah, so basically, I'm a loser, right? Like I'm not successful. Um, I'm poor. Um, I'm not, I'm not like a successful person. I'm on the bottom of the social hierarchy and stuff in society. So, so yeah, I've noted, it's interesting, like, you know, like, in general, like that's bad, right? Like that's, like especially in the past, even, even before, before I went to jail and everything, I was, I had a decent thing going, but I really wasn't like that successful either, and like I would go to the bar, by myself and just sit at the bar, and like no one would really talk to me. And so I just kind of like hang out by myself. I didn't really have any friends or anything. Sometimes there'd be a little conversation that would strike up, but in general, like, people I think kind of knew that I was like a loser and stuff, and that people kind of like a lot of times will like avoid talking to losers, and they they look down, and they don't want to, like, it's like you're a loser, like. um, so but yeah, like, when I went to jail and like and then went to the homeless shelter, and then lived at this independent living, house with a bunch of other people. Um, it's like this is how I can kind of tell that, like, you know this is how I can tell the other people are kind of losers too, because they're talking to me, like. It's like a loser, like successful people and rich people and stuff, they don't really talk to me. They don't, I'm not really, the only time that they would talk to me is to see me as the help, to ask, they need some kind of information, some directions, or like that's the way that rich people would kind of like talk to, like, people who are losers, or kind of like, at the bottom, they kind of like, they don't really like associate with them and stuff. But they'll use them as a help and stuff, right? This goes all the way back, right? There's a whole history with this. And even like successful people, rich people and stuff, when I go into those neighborhoods or something, like they know that I'm not supposed to be there and stuff. Like this just happened the other day. I went to this kind of nice beach area and tried to sit on one of those little chairs that they have out there, and like, I had it happen two times where the security guards came over and were like, you don't, you're not a resident here. You don't, like I can't just blend in and stuff. Like people, they know that I'm a loser. Like they know that I'm not a part of that class of people and stuff. And so, but like, yeah, with this whole experience, like I was just like, going to jail and like living in these homeless shelter, and it's like, I would be like, why are these people talking to me? Like, like I'm a loser, like people don't really normally talk to me, but it's like, cause they're losers too. Like they don't, that's the whole thing, is it, um, I was just like, wow, this is, how are they acknowledging my existence and stuff, like so it was just kind of an interesting thing to, that to have to realize, that it was like, oh, wow, it's like, that's how I can tell, like, it's like, you know, or they might even kind of think that I'm like better than them or something, right? Or they might see me as, someone that to learn from, right? Whereas like successful and rich people and stuff, they don't, they're not trying to like learn from me or anything. um so So yeah, I mean, I don't know where I was really going with this video, but it's just like this whole kind of like experience that is just like, I guess would get confused. I'd be like, why, um, like, I don't know, like why are these people like curious about me and my life and stuff? It's like, whereas like successful people, they're busy with their successful lives and living in their communities, and they're kind of, I think a lot of the successful rich people are kind of like scared of poor people, right? They're kind of like, I think that's why they have so much security and so many, they hire a bunch of security guards at their places and have these, they really monitor their communities very well and stuff. They really don't, they try to keep people out and stuff, and they're kind of scared of poor people, I think, and people who are losers and not successful. Whereas like losers will kind of like talk to anybody and stuff, and just, so it's like, I don't know. But yeah, and then even like this whole thing, like any kind of like social group setting and stuff, when you're in a social group setting for an extended period of time, like this is the kind of is weird to me, but like to be like at a homeless shelter, like, and for people to be like competitive with each other or something, or like compare, it's like weird, like we're like losers and stuff, like I don't know, it's like we all have our own past and we're trying to get like, I don't think that's like the right place to like be competitive. It's like we're a bunch of losers. It's like, why you're gonna compete with another loser. Like what? I don't know. And so then yeah, just so this, I get like creeped out and stuff. I've been very creeped out in jail and like the homeless. So it's like people, because like in general, like here's the thing that I'm trying to describe is that I was ignored so much and just like before, and then when I went to jail and I got into these places with a bunch of poor people and more losers, like I wasn't as ignored as I used to be. And so it was kind of like I'm like, why do you care about, like I'm a fucking loser, I'm poor, like I messed up my life and stuff, like so yeah, it's like I just like kind of blew. It was a total different contrast to how I used to just be totally overlooked, in general in life. And but you had to go. I had to go into these settings with these different people. There, it's like, oh wow, they don't, um, they I don't know. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I, don't- I guess, does anybody other kind of relate to any of this kind of stuff? Like, I think, class stuff is so interesting. Like, and here in Miami, it's like very segregated and stuff. You can see there's, it's like they, and I know in a lot of places they are, but there's just, it's just fascinating how, you know, we just have, yeah, we have, uh, a whole class structure and stuff, and you know hey, we can all try our best and stuff, to enjoy life, and but yeah, some of the things are kind of, you can be kind of tricky, and it's, and there's, you understand how people are navigating and dealing with these social hierarchies, and and why, how you could be totally ignored and looked past by some people, but then some people will actually come up to you and talk to you and like want to, it's like, it's just strange, like it's out of a strange, it's a difference. So I don't know, I'm just confused all the time, this is, I don't know, this is our society. I'm trying to make sense of it. But yeah, like I think this, I'm trying to like, work out in my head what's what I deal with, where I'm just like, it's weird to like just be ignored by some people, but then be watched by other people, like it's just, I don't know, it just, it confuses you, And I guess this has to do with my relative video a little bit too, like they, but I don't know, I just, how do I get a firm grasp of myself when, when it's like everything is so relative and stuff. It's like, okay, like, but then, so this is where I'm trying to kind of make sense. It's like, oh, okay, you know, they're, yeah, like this is why. It's because they're also a loser. That's why they're, talking to me and not just ignoring me and, like casting me aside or something because, all right. Anyways, you guys have a good day. And, yeah, I'll talk to you soon.